Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going deep on Suven Pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
They're a global CDMO, and they work with some of the biggest names in pharma.
Yeah.
You may not have heard of them, but they're definitely a company worth knowing about.
Yeah.
Especially with their recent performance
Right.
and this proposed merger with Cohance Life Sciences.
Absolutely. There's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
We've got Suven's Q2 and H1 FY25 investor presentation,
Okay.
plus some regulatory filings detailing their latest board meeting outcomes.
It's like a backstage pass to the inner workings of a major player in the pharmaceutical industry.
Right.
And they're not just any CDMO.
Yeah.
They're working with 14 of the top 20 global pharmaceutical companies.
It really is.
That's a pretty impressive client list.
It speaks to their expertise and reputation in the industry.
Yeah. Okay, let's jump into their recent performance.
Okay.
Their consolidated revenue grew 12% year over year in Q2 of FY25.
Right.
But the first half of the year saw a dip.
What's the story there?
It looks like timing played a role.
Okay.
Suven themselves highlighted that order shipment schedules were heavily skewed
Uh-huh.
towards the second half of the year.
Okay.
It's not unusual in the CDMO world
Mm-hmm.
for things to be a bit lumpy quarter to quarter.
So not necessarily a cause for concern, more like a timing quirk?
Yeah.
Okay, but what really jumps out at me is the growth of their pharma CDMO segment.
Yeah.
A whopping 40% year over year in Q2.
It's a combination of factors.
What's driving that incredible performance?
They're increasingly involved in later stage drug development,
Right.
which is generally more lucrative.
Right.
Their phase 3 pipeline alone now includes 7 molecules,
Wow.
translating to 12 intermediates.
Okay.
But it's not just about the quantity of projects.
Yeah.
It's also about the complexity and innovation involved.
Uh-huh.
They're seeing a surge in requests
Okay.
for highly specialized projects,
Yeah.
things like antibody drug conjugates or ADCs.
Peptides and oligonucleotide fragments.
Okay.
These are all cutting-edge areas of drug development.
Hold on, ADCs.
No.
Break that down for me.
Okay.
What exactly are those and why are they such a big deal?
Think of ADCs as guided missiles for cancer therapy.
Okay.
They combine a monoclonal antibody,
Mm,
which targets specific cancer cells,
right.
with a potent chemotherapy drug.
Okay.
So you're delivering the chemo directly to the tumor,
Wow.
minimizing damage to healthy cells.
Okay.
A very targeted approach.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So Suven is right in the thick of this
Yeah.
exciting area of cancer research.
Yeah.
And they're not just manufacturing these ADCs,
Yeah.
they're actually developing their own proprietary technology platform.
Mm.
That's a bold move, but is this risky?
Wow.
Are they spreading themselves too thin, or is this a clever way to
I think.
maximize their value in the CDMO market?
Yeah.
What do their financials say about this?
Well, their profitability looks pretty solid. Their gross margins are improving
Mm-hmm.
thanks to a favorable business mix
Yeah.
and a focus on operational efficiencies.
Mm-hmm.
Their adjusted EBITDA margins also remain healthy.
So it seems they're managing this expansion
Right.
while keeping a close eye on their bottom line.
Yeah.
It's like they're playing 3D chess, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're expanding into these complex and innovative areas
Right.
while also making sure the financial foundation is strong.
Yeah.
Speaking of strategy, they've stated their ambition to be the most admired CDMO.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty audacious goal.
It is.
What are they doing to achieve that?
They've laid out a strategic blueprint
Okay.
with several key pillars.
Uh-huh.
We've already touched on their pharma CDMO segment,
Right.
which is clearly a major focus.
Yeah.
But they're also making big moves in the oligonucleotide space.
Right. Their acquisition of Sapala was a
Mhm.
big step in that direction.
Yeah.
But what exactly are oligonucleotides and why are they so important?
Oligonucleotides are short sequences of DNA or RNA
Okay.
that can be designed to target
Uh-huh.
specific genes or proteins.
Okay.
They have enormous potential in a wide range of therapeutic areas,
Mm.
from gene therapy to targeted drug delivery.
Okay.
The fact that Suven is investing heavily in this space
Yeah.
speaks volumes about their vision for the future of medicine.
So they're not just keeping up with the trends.
Right.
They're actively shaping the future of drug development.
Mm-hmm.
And what are they doing specifically with Sapala
Well,
to make this happen?
they're investing in CGMP facilities,
Okay.
which stands for Current Good Manufacturing Practice.
Uh-huh.
This basically means they're adhering to the highest
Okay.
quality and regulatory standards for pharmaceutical production.
Got it.
They're also building out their oligonucleotide pipeline.
Okay.
One of their products in this area
Mm-hmm.
has even received orphan drug status.
Orphan drug status, you mean, for treating rare diseases.
Yeah.
Remind me, why is that significant?
It's significant because it comes with certain benefits.
Okay.
Like tax breaks and market exclusivity,
Mm-hmm.
which can make it more financially attractive
Right.
to develop drugs for rare diseases.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So even though they're targeting a smaller patient population, it could still be a very lucrative market.
Exactly.
Okay, we've talked about pharma CDMO and oligonucleotides.
Right.
What's the next pillar in their strategic blueprint?
Let's talk about their specialty chemicals business.
Okay.
They've got a dedicated agri-chem segment
Mm-hmm.
that's been facing a bit of a downturn lately
Okay.
due to a destocking cycle.
So a bit of a rough patch.
Right.
But what's their strategy for navigating that?
They're definitely not sitting still.
Okay.
They've converted their ag chem business
Mm-hmm.
into a dedicated strategic business unit,
Okay.
which allows them to focus
Right.
more resources and attention on this specific market.
Got it.
They're also seeing early signs of a recovery, with new product discussions and requests for quotations picking up.
So they're digging in their heels
Yeah.
and positioning themselves for the rebound.
Mm,
And it's not just about ag chem, right?
absolutely.
They also have expertise in other areas of specialty chemicals.
They have a niche in electronic chemicals
Okay.
and have proven that their ability to handle projects of varying sizes, from small scale to multi-kilo production.
Okay.
They're really showcasing their agility and expertise in this segment.
So they're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Right.
They're diversifying their offerings and tapping into different markets.
Exactly.
And they've got another segment, API++, which focuses on small and mid-volume APIs.
You got it.
Is that right?
API++ stands for active pharmaceutical ingredients.
Okay.
And this segment is particularly interesting because it's less susceptible to the pricing pressures
Okay.
that often plague the larger volume API market.
So a bit more stability and potentially higher margins. That's smart.
Yeah.
And we know they're planning a merger
Mm-hmm.
with Cohance Life Sciences,
Right.
which also has a strong API plus business.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, I'm curious,
Sure.
how is Suven's API++ segment performing right now?
They've actually seen strong growth in H1,
Okay.
driven by new product launches and a recovering market demand.
Okay, so there's definite momentum there.
Yeah.
It sounds like all cylinders are firing.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, the big story is this potential merger
Right.
with Cohance Life Sciences.
Yeah.
This could create a CDMO powerhouse with a much broader reach and a more diversified portfolio.
Absolutely.
Give me the rundown.
Okay.
Where do things stand with this merger right now?
Well,
And what are the potential hurdles they need to clear?
They've already secured approvals from the stock exchanges,
Okay.
and SEBI,
Uh-huh.
India's regulatory body for the securities market.
Okay.
The next big hurdle is the shareholder vote. The National Company Law Tribunal has ordered a shareholders meeting for November 28th
All right.
to vote on the proposal.
So we're just weeks away from a major decision.
Yes, we are.
This is getting exciting. Assuming the shareholders give the green light, how do the two companies complement each other?
It's a really interesting fit.
Okay.
We've already discussed Suven's strengths in pharma CDMO,
Right.
oligonucleotides, and specialty chemicals. Cohance brings its own expertise in API++,
Okay.
which further strengthens Suven's position in that market.
Yeah.
They also have their own expertise in ADCs,
Uh-huh.
which adds to Suven's growing capabilities in that key area.
So they're not just overlapping, they're
Yeah.
actually enhancing each other's strengths.
Exactly.
What about their financial profiles? How do they compare?
Cohance's H1 performance was a bit muted,
Okay.
with some key CDMO orders being pushed to the second half of the year, but they remain optimistic about full-year growth for both their API++ and CDMO businesses,
Sure.
and their EBITDA margins are currently around 25%.
Okay.
Which is healthy, though, a bit lower than Suven's.
Okay.
That difference is largely due to Cohance's higher proportion of API+ in their business mix.
Interesting. So slightly different profitability profiles.
Right.
But both companies seem to be in a good financial position. When
Yeah.
you look at the combined financials, what does the picture look like?
Very promising.
Okay.
According to the pro forma metrics,
Mm-hmm.
the combined entity would have a very healthy net cash balance sheet.
Okay.
They're projecting an indicative return on capital employed of around 22% and a return on equity of around 17%.
Okay.
Those are really strong numbers that point to potential for robust growth and value creation.
It sounds like a potential win-win for both companies and their investors.
It does.
Speaking of leadership, Suven recently appointed 2 new board members. Tell me about them.
Okay.
What kind of experience are they bringing to the table? And what might their roles be as Suven navigates this merger and charts its course for the future?
They've added Mr. Jai Shankar Krishnan as an independent director and Mr. Vinod Patikal as a non-executive, non-independent director. Mr. Krishnan has a wealth of experience in the healthcare industry.
Wow.
He's been spearheading growth for Danaher Corporation in high-growth markets since 2019. And before that, held leadership positions at companies like PerkinElmer, Novartis, and GlaxoSmithKline.
He's a seasoned veteran.
He is.
What about his academic background?
Absolutely.
Does he have the strategic vision to help guide Suven through this complex landscape?
He holds an MBA from the Birla Institute of Technology and is a Harvard Business School alumnus.
Strategic vision and top-notch business acumen. He brings both to the table.
He does.
Impressive. Okay, now tell me about Mr. Patikal. What's his story?
Mr. Patikal brings a deep understanding of financial markets and investment strategies. He's currently a senior portfolio manager at ADIA, the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, one of the largest sovereign wealth funds in the world.
Wow, okay.
He focuses on private equity investments in India and Southeast Asia.
So he'll be able to provide valuable insights on Suven's financial decisions and growth opportunities.
Exactly.
And what about his experience prior to ADIA?
He previously worked at Advent International and Bain Capital, where he advised portfolio companies on operations and management. He also has a strong academic background with a B.Tech from Cochin University of Science and Technology and an MBA from IIM Ahmedabad.
Another impressive resume.
Yeah.
These new appointments definitely signal Suven's commitment to building a strong and diverse leadership team. And it makes you wonder, what kind of role will these new directors play?
That's a great question.
As Suven navigates this merger and aims for that ambitious goal of doubling the business in the next 5 years.
And one we'll certainly be watching closely in the coming months.
Okay, before we move on, let's touch on Suven's financial outlook. They seem pretty confident about their growth prospects. What are they projecting for the rest of FY25 and beyond?
They've reiterated their expectation of growth in the second half of FY25. Driven by a strong order book and scheduled shipments. And looking further ahead, they're aiming to double the combined business over the next 5 years.
Ambitious, but with all the pieces they have in place. Potentially achievable?
Potentially achievable?
Ambitious, yes, but they're not relying on organic growth alone, right?
Absolutely.
Didn't they mention M&A as a key part of their strategy?
The Sapala acquisition is a perfect example of that. And given their strong financial position, it wouldn't be surprising to see them make additional strategic acquisitions in the future to further enhance their capabilities and market reach.
So they're playing the long game. They're building a solid foundation, expanding into high-growth areas, and using M&A to accelerate their progress. It's a compelling story, but we're not done yet.
We still need to delve deeper into Suven's individual strategic pillars, explore the potential implications of their growth ambitions, and unpack this U.S. Biosecure Act that they mentioned.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground already.
We have.
But there's still much more to explore.
Yeah.
Let's take a pause here. Let's take a pause here and come back to it in part 2 of this deep dive.
Sound good.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Suven Pharmaceuticals. Before we pause, we were talking about Suven's impressive growth and their ambitious goal of doubling the combined business in the next 5 years. They've got this multifaceted strategy, expanding into new technologies. Making strategic acquisitions and strengthening their existing businesses.
It really is.
It's a lot to take in.
And it's not just about growth for growth's sake. Suven seems to be very strategic about where they're focusing their efforts.
Okay.
Targeting areas with high potential and aligning their investments with future trends in the pharmaceutical industry.
Okay, let's zoom in on some of those specific areas.
Okay.
We've talked about their pharma CDMO segment being their bread and butter,
Right.
but they're not content with just being a manufacturing partner.
Mhm.
They want to be involved in the development process from the earliest stages.
Exactly.
Right.
They're moving up the value chain,
Uh-huh.
aiming to become a true end-to-end partner for their clients.
Okay.
We see that reflected in their expanding phase 3 pipeline.
Yeah.
They're not just manufacturing ingredients.
Right.
They're helping to bring new drugs to market.
And they're not just working with big pharma. They're attracting a diverse range of clients,
Right.
from smaller biotech firms to even other CDMOs.
It speaks to their versatility and adaptability.
What does that tell you about their approach?
They're not a one-size-fits-all CDMO.
Right.
They can tailor their services to meet the specific needs of a wide range of clients.
Okay.
This flexibility is likely a key factor in their success.
And let's not forget their willingness to invest in new technologies, their acquisition of Sapala, and their focus on oligonucleotides is a prime example.
Yeah.
It feels like they're placing a big bet on the future of personalized medicine. Are they taking on too much risk here?
Every investment carries some level of risk,
Right.
but someone seems to be carefully evaluating their options and choosing areas with significant growth potential.
Okay.
Oligonucleotides are rapidly gaining traction in drug development, particularly in areas like gene therapy and personalized medicine.
Suven is positioning itself to be a leader in this emerging field.
Yeah.
And that could pay off big time.
So they're not just following the trends,
Right.
They're actively shaping the future of drug development. What specifically are they doing with Sapala to make this vision a reality?
They're investing in state-of-the-art CGMP facilities, ensuring they can produce oligonucleotides at the highest quality and regulatory standards. They're also actively building out their oligonucleotide pipeline. They even have a product that's received orphan drug status, which we talked about earlier.
Right. That designation could give them a significant advantage in developing and commercializing that drug. It's a smart move.
It is.
Now, how about their ADC platform? When talked about ADCs being like guided missiles for cancer therapy, how are they leveraging that platform for growth?
They're already supplying payloads and payload intermediates for 2 commercially available ADCs.
That's a significant achievement in itself.
Right.
But they're not stopping there. They're actively expanding their portfolio to include designer and adjacent payloads, which will give them access to a wider range of ADC customers and further solidify their position in this high-growth market.
So they're thinking long-term,
Right.
building a platform that can support a variety of ADC therapies. It's all about diversification and staying ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And they have their own proprietary ADC technology platform, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
They're not just relying on off-the-shelf solutions. They're developing their own innovations, which gives them a competitive edge.
Right.
It demonstrates a commitment to R&D and a desire to be a true leader in the ADC space.
It sounds like they're firing on all cylinders. Now let's switch gears and talk about their specialty chemicals business. We know that the agrichem segment has been facing some headwinds lately due to that destocking cycle. How are they planning to turn things around in that segment?
Well, they've taken a proactive approach
Okay.
by creating a dedicated strategic business unit for their ag chem operations.
Okay.
This allows them to focus resources and expertise on addressing the specific challenges in this market.
Okay.
They're focusing on developing and manufacturing intermediates and active ingredients, which are the building blocks for agricultural chemicals.
So they're getting back to basics, strengthening their core offerings. But are they seeing any signs of a turnaround in the market?
Yes, they're actually seeing some encouraging signs.
Okay.
They've mentioned new product discussions and an increase in requests for quotations, including from potential new customers.
Right.
It's still early, but it suggests that the market be starting to stabilize.
So they're riding out the storm and preparing for the eventual rebound.
Exactly.
It sounds like a sensible approach. And what about Cohance's specialty chemicals business? How does that fit into the picture?
Cohance has a strong presence in niche markets, like cosmetics, electronic chemicals, and even the energy industry. They've proven their ability to handle projects of varying sizes, from gram scale to multi-kilo productions,
All right.
demonstrating their adaptability and expertise across a range of specialty chemicals.
So they bring a different set of capabilities to the table, which further diversifies the combined entity's portfolio.
Exactly.
It's like they're creating a one-stop shop for all things specialty chemicals.
Precisely.
Okay.
And let's not forget about Cohance's API++ business.
Right.
They're already seeing strong growth in this segment, driven by new product launches and a recovering market demand.
So a lot of positive momentum there.
There is.
When you combine Suven's focus on pharma CDMO with Cohance's strengths in API++ and specialty chemicals, it does create a pretty impressive offer. Yeah.
They'd be able to provide end-to-end solutions for a wider range of customers, from drug discovery and development to commercial scale manufacturing.
Absolutely.
And that's a compelling story to tell.
It certainly is.
Go.
And beyond the expanded portfolio, there's also the potential for synergies and cost savings that come with any merger. A larger entity will have more bargaining power with suppliers and be able to streamline operations.
Exactly. And there are opportunities to cross-sell products and services and leverage each other's customer relationships. The potential for value creation is significant.
It is.
But it's not all about financial performance. Suven has also outlined some ambitious environmental, social, and governance or ESG goals.
Absolutely.
This is something we're seeing more and more companies prioritize.
Suven is taking a multidimensional approach to ESG. They've set specific targets for reducing emissions,
transitioning to renewable energy sources, and improving water management.
So they're walking the walk when it comes to environmental sustainability.
They are.
It's great to see a company that's not just talking the talk, but taking concrete steps to reduce their environmental footprint. What about their social responsibility initiatives? What are they doing in that area?
They've committed to achieving zero reportable lost time injuries. Demonstrating a strong focus on employee safety and well-being. They're also promoting public health education and disease prevention through their corporate social responsibility programs.
So they're thinking about the well-being of their employees and the communities they operate in. It speaks to their values and their commitment to being a responsible corporate citizen.
It does.
What about the G in ESG corporate governance?
They haven't neglected that either. They've set goals related to ethical compliance, regulatory compliance, and ensuring that all employees and board members acknowledge their code of conduct. They're creating a culture of accountability and transparency, which is essential for any company, especially one operating in a highly regulated industry, like pharmaceuticals.
It sounds like they're taking a holistic approach to ESG, integrating it into every aspect of their business. But even with all these positive developments, Suven still faces challenges.
Of course.
They operate in a dynamic and ever-changing industry.
The pharmaceutical industry is heavily regulated. So navigating the regulatory landscape is always a challenge. They need to stay ahead of evolving regulations and ensure they maintain compliance across all their operations.
That makes sense. Compliance is critical in this industry.
It is.
Any other potential headwinds you see on the horizon?
Competition is always a factor in any industry. And the CDMO market is no exception. Suven will need to continue differentiating themselves through innovation, quality, and exceptional customer service. They can't afford to become complacent.
So staying ahead of the competition is key.
It is.
What about the global economic climate? Are there any macroeconomic factors that could impact their growth?
Well, inflation and rising interest rates are concerns for businesses worldwide. And Suven is not immune to those pressures. They'll need to manage their costs carefully and be prepared to adjust their pricing strategies if necessary.
So agility and adaptability are crucial in this current environment. And speaking of adaptability, they did mention this potential U.S. Biosecure Act in their investor presentation.
That's a great question.
What is that? And how could it impact Suven?
And it's one that could have significant implications for Suven and the entire CDMO landscape. The Biosecure Act is a proposed piece of legislation in the United States that aims to strengthen the security of the pharmaceutical supply chain.
Okay.
It's still in its early stages,
Right.
but it's something we need to watch closely.
Okay, this sounds important.
It is.
We definitely need to delve deeper into this Biosecure Act and understand what it could mean for Suven's future.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It has the potential to reshape the dynamics of the CDMO market and could create both challenges and opportunities for companies like Suven.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From Suven's individual strategic pillars and their impressive growth to the potential impact of the proposed merger with Cohance.
Right.
But this U.S. Biosecure Act has piqued my curiosity. Let's unpack that in the part 3 of this deep dive.
Okay.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Before we paused, we were about to explore the potential impact of the U.S. Biosecure Act on Suven Pharmaceuticals.
Right.
This proposed legislation aims to make the U.S. pharmaceutical supply chain more secure.
Why should our listener care about this?
Well, it has the potential to shake things up for the entire CDMO industry, including Suven. If the act passes, it could incentivize pharmaceutical companies to shift their sourcing and manufacturing back to the U.S.
So instead of relying on global supply chains, there'd be a push to bring things back home. Wouldn't that hurt a global CDMO like Suven?
It's possible Suven generates a significant portion of their revenue from U.S.-based companies. If those companies start favoring domestic suppliers, it could impact Suven's bottom line.
So there's definitely a downside.
Yeah.
But you mentioned potential opportunities too, right?
Yeah.
What could those look like?
Well, Suven already has a foothold in the U.S. with their business office in New Jersey. They could expand their U.S. operations to capture some of that demand for domestic sourcing.
It would be a strategic pivot, but they've shown they can be adaptable.
It's like turning a challenge into a chance to grow. But wouldn't they face stiff competition? From established U.S.-based CDMOs?
Of course.
How could they stand out in that crowded market?
That's where their expertise in complex chemistries and cutting-edge technologies comes in. They could target U.S. clients who need those specialized capabilities. Something their competitors might not offer.
So it's not just about location. It's about differentiation.
Exactly.
They need to bring something unique to the table. But even if they navigate that, there's still the issue of managing costs in the face of inflation and making sure they remain profitable.
You're right. Those are ongoing challenges. But remember, Suven has a strong track record of operational excellence. They're always looking for ways to enhance efficiency and productivity. And their healthy balance sheet gives them some flexibility.
It's a balancing act for sure.
It is.
But they've shown they can manage these competing priorities while also investing in their future. And we haven't even touched on their commitment to ESG goals.
Absolutely.
It seems they're taking a very proactive approach.
They're not just paying lip service to sustainability. They're setting concrete targets, reducing their environmental impact, focusing on employee well-being, and promoting ethical business practices.
It's encouraging to see a company that's prioritizing these values. It suggests a long-term vision, a commitment to sustainable growth that benefits not just the company, but also the environment and society.
And that resonates with investors who are increasingly looking for companies that align with their own values. Suven's ESG initiatives could give them a real advantage.
It's not just the right thing to do. It's also a smart business strategy.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Suven Pharmaceuticals, what are your final takeaways?
Suven is a company on the move.
Okay.
They're ambitious, innovative, and financially solid. They're strategically positioning themselves for future growth.
Right.
Whether it's through expanding into new technologies, pursuing acquisitions, or adapting to potential shifts in the market.
They're not afraid to take risks, but they're doing it in a calculated and strategic way.
Right.
And they're not just chasing profit. They're committed to operating sustainably and responsibly.
Exactly. It's a compelling story. They're a company to watch, that's for sure.
I completely agree. It's been a fascinating deep dive, full of insights into a company that's embracing innovation, adapting to change, and striving to make a positive impact.
For listeners who want to explore further, I highly recommend visiting Suven Pharmaceuticals Investor Relations website.
great suggestion.
They have a wealth of information available from investor presentations to regulatory filings and ESG reports.
And as always, we encourage our listeners to keep learning, keep exploring, and keep asking questions.
Yeah.
The world of pharmaceuticals and specialty chemicals is constantly evolving,
Right.
and there's always more to discover.
And if this deep dive sparked your curiosity about the U.S. Biosecure Act, definitely do some research.
Okay.
Think about how this legislation could reshape the global pharmaceutical landscape.
That's a perfect final thought.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us on the deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We'll be back soon with another exploration
Okay.
of a company or industry shaping our world.
That's good.
Until then, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep those questions coming.